G'day, that's Safety Guy. I'm really getting tired of these face masks. Today's a doubleheader. It's been an interesting day to say the least. But spotters, you need to get a spotter. In Ontario, we have a regulation. It's Regulation 104, section 104, subsection 3. Right. Basically, what it states is if you can't see where you're going, if your path of travel is inhibited, if the thing that you're carrying is blocking your vision, if you're working close to an object or a building, you need a spotter. So without the spotter, there's a high probability that there's going to be property damage, equipment damage, material damage, or God forbid, you're going to hit a worker. So whether you're in an elevator work platform and the basket or the work platform is raised and you can't see because of poor light, if you're working very close to a building and you're not quite sure where your counterweight is on your excavator, that's probably a good indication that you're going to need a spotter. If you're moving material with a telescoping handler, a telehandler, a forklift, and you're going, say, from outside to inside where there's a drastic light change, or maybe the sun's in your eyes and you can't quite see what may be in front of you that could be struck by either the load that you're putting in place, or a part of the fork, or even the knuckle, the wrist that's above the forks on, say, a telehandler, or even the mast of a tow motor or a forklift. If you can't see, you should stop and get your spotter. You actually should, just as good practice and as a good habit, if you're going to be driving around a site, whether it be a low rise, a high rise, or even an industrial park, like a warehouse or an office building of some kind, on that kind of a project, and it's really, really congested, you should walk with a spotter. A, that way you're not speeding through sight, kicking up dust. B, you've got somebody walking ahead of you to make sure that you can see, or so that you're aware of what the road conditions are like, so you haven't hit any dips or ruts in the road, or you're not going to take a corner so close that you might hit a parked vehicle. You don't know. This is why we need to have spotters. At the end of the day, it's far faster, far quicker to grab a spotter to help you make sure that you can place that load properly, or that you can get through that tight area. It's far faster to get that spotter than it is to do an investigation because that piece of equipment struck something. It's far faster to get a spotter than it is to administer first aid to a potential casualty. It's far faster to get a spotter than it is to clean up a huge mess. If there's enough incidents on a site, they're usually precursors to something bigger to happen. So, you know what? You may have hit a building, you may have hit a rut in a road. These things could add up, and over a very, very short period of time, for whatever reason, it could lead to a catastrophic event, which would be, it could lead to a death. So this is why we need spotters, is to keep the people on the ground safe. It's to keep our equipment in good running order, and it's so that we don't do damage to the environment that we're around, which is going to cost money that we should have used and got a spotter. Okay, so that's it at the end of the day. In Ontario, there's a regulation. There's a law that states you have to have a spotter. I would bet you dollars to donuts that the people that you work for probably have a policy somewhere that states that you need to have a spotter while you're operating your equipment, and especially if you're in close quarters to people or other pieces of equipment or other materials. So at the end of the day, it's far faster to get that spotter than it is to do the investigation or clean up the mess, or God forbid, provide first aid to a very severely injured casualty. So I've said it before, I'll say it again. At the end of the day, folks, go home, hug the kids, play with the dog, watch a movie. unplug, get rid of this COVID stuff for a while. We don't need to go home and be hammered with it all day, all night long. Stay away from the death count, stay away from the COVID counts. God forbid, stay away from the American stuff, because that's just depressing. Go home, enjoy yourselves, watch a movie, spend time with the kids, all right? And get a good night's sleep, and then we can come back at this tomorrow.